Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I'm just noticing that I don't have my on-air sign on. I am really excited about this conversation we're going to have today about dementia care. Care is not even the right word, I don't think. But anyway, I've got as a guest Sharon Johnson with Hearthstone and Susannah Dwyer and Chris Coelho from Abe's Garden. And we are going to have a terrific conversation. But first, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Hey guys, welcome. I'm really excited. I just realized as I'm running the intro that I want to take this in a little bit different direction. Well, actually, let's do introductions first. So Sharon, let's start with you. So tell us who you are.
Steve. All right. Thank you. Very happy to be here. I am the director of the Hearthstone Institute and super excited to be here with our new partners, Abe's Garden.
And what does the Hearthstone Institute do?
Sure. So Hearthstone Institute is the dissemination arm of the evidence-based approach that we call I'm Still Here. And it was started about 6 or 7 years ago to take all the information that we have gleaned through our research team and our evidence base and our own residences and be able to push it out and help more people and expand the mission. So our goal is to be able to take all the information that we have learned about communication techniques and environment and engagement and help more people through that. So the Institute's goal is to really disseminate that information.
And this is for people with dementia, correct?
Dementia and more. So there are actually 5 pieces to the I'm Still Here approach, and they map to what we call the continuum of cognitive health. So we have the key to what we do is adapting experiences for people at various levels of cognitive challenge. So we have programs that map to memory support. We have programs that map to assisted living, where there are people who are not really benefiting from the traditional assisted living programming for one reason or another because of their cognitive challenges, and also even for independent living, because we know that many folks that are living in independent living are starting to experience these challenges. And so we have programs for brain and memory health for those folks. So it really is designed to meet people wherever they're at in that continuum.
Terrific. So Susannah and Chris, let's talk about who you are and what you're doing and what your passion is. And we actually have a big announcement we're going to make, so you're going to actually hear it first. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. We are so excited to be on your show here with our awesome friend Sharon. CEO of Abe's Garden with my trusted partner here, Chris. And really everything that Sharon said, we are working diligently on our mission to truly create a replicable, scalable mission that truly meets the needs of those we serve through brain health, through wellness, through purposeful living. And I see that we have John joining, so that is great. Over to you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Coelho. I'm the COO of Abe's Garden, and I really work hard on a day-to-day basis to really establish that replicable model, really focusing on brain health, wellness, and purposeful living for all the residents that live here in all the different areas.
Great. So I want to just give a little bit of a background here. Abe's Garden is this amazing dementia community in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was started 5, 6, 7 years ago. I've been on the board since it first opened. And really the goal is to create a world-class memory care community. and a demonstration project that can be used by the rest of the industry to make dementia care better for older people. And they've been using the Hearthstone methodology. I'm not sure, is methodology an okay word, Sharon? Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
perfect. Okay, and with the idea that it gives people that I love this idea of I'm still here. The idea that there's so much to give. And I know that I was actually there. I stayed there for a few days last week. And when I get a chance to just spend time in a memory care community, the thing I'm always reminded of is that we tend to get this picture of, almost walking zombies. And you get in there and you start having these wonderful conversations with people who have got these cognitive challenges, but there's still so much of them that are there, and so many great conversations. And so I really love what you are doing. And John, I'm glad you're here. You're really the guy who sort of founded this whole methodology. And so I'm going to give you a chance to just talk about who you are and your passion.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm John Zeisel. I wrote a book many years ago called I'm Still Here, which is the basis for a lot of the approaches we're talking about. And the passion is to see and deal with everybody, including those living with cognitive issues. And many of us have that, with the same equanimity and familiarity and intimacy that we deal with each other. And so that means that people are there with us in the conversation, as we all are, as best we can with other people.
What I'd like to do is I'm going to come back to Susannah and Chris, and as we bring Abe's Garden and merge it with Hearthstone, I'd like to really have you dream of what is possible. And I'm sure John and Sharon, you're going to want to weigh into this. But if you sort of look out and, cast your vision out 5 years or 10 years in terms of what it might look like for both the individuals that have these cognitive impairments and their families using what the I'm Still Here method. But Susannah and Chris, we'll start with you.
Okay, so big hairy goal, Steve. 5 years, we just cure Alzheimer's. We'll put that one on the whiteboard. However, as we're trying to do that, I would say that the merging of these two entities' missions truly helps us take everything from a Hearthstone approach and weave it through every product line. So whether that be memory care service, assisted living, independent living, and for us at ABES, we do have private duty home care, and so meeting the need in the home of the resident, the patient that has not yet chosen to move into a senior living community, but you're taking those same approaches and truly making a difference in that moment, in that home, I think is a tremendous opportunity for us. And then to take that and scale it across the U.S. is our goal. Chris?
Cool.
Yeah. So what I was going to add to that is I think we do a really good job of supporting the residents that live within our community here. And by using Hearthstone, we've learned a lot in the past 7 years, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and combining that with Hearthstone and the I'm Still Here approach, I think being able to provide that to everybody else and through the Hearthstone and our approaches there to reach as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, Chris, I want to actually dig a little bit deeper with you. What I love about Susannah is very new. She's just come on board. So, congratulations! We're really glad to see you there as part of Abe's Garden, the whole community there. And so, in some sense, you're just digging in. But Chris, you've been there since early on. but you actually stepped away for a little while and then you came back again. And so as you have sort of looked at this world of working with residents who have dementia, cognitive, what are you seeing? What have you learned? What excites you? And I don't know, do I dare ask what depresses you?
Yeah, I think what excites me about it is kind of to your point is if you don't spend a lot of time with residents and specifically a memory support area or in a senior living community, you have this one thought of what you typically might think of with senior living, but you start spending a little bit of time with the residents and they have stories going back well before my time, and I get to learn about this part of my life or before my life that I wouldn't learn otherwise. And I think that's really what drives me each day is that I do my normal day-to-day office things, but what keeps me connected are the stories from the residents and being able to really share that with each other and figuring out how to expand that in other ways. Really what we do here is try and meet each of those residents where they are and coming up with engagements. This is apart from Hearthstone, but clubs, classes, committees, keeping residents as involved in their day and providing purpose, and that the focus of the day isn't always meals, even though we have great meals that we can look forward to, but what are the things that we're doing to give back to where we are right now, where we're living, but also the community outside the walls. So I think what I learned from that period of time when I wasn't here and coming back is that Abe's Garden really does a really great job of focusing on how to touch the residents where they are here, how to make them feel included in the community around them, and then how to give back to the other people that they're living with, but also outside their community as well.
Yeah, I think that we're at this inflection point in time in terms of, it's been brought about because of COVID, because of the economic turmoil that we're seeing. I'm just, if I sound a little tired, it's because I've been at two conferences for, 2 days, 2 weeks straight. And it's been so dynamic. But the thing that we're seeing and I'm really excited about is that we're, honestly, there's a lot of pain. If you're watching this, you're in the industry, that there's a lot of pain and turmoil happening in the industry right now. And in the short term, it's not very much fun. But what I am seeing is the industry is being remixed, and that remixing, I'm confident, will make us much, much better. We do, as you guys know, we do an annual conference for life enrichment professionals, a virtual conference, and we're going to work on what the programming is going to look like for 2023, and we've got this advisory board that met for the first time a week or 10 days ago, and as we've been talking to them about the thing they want to hear about the most, we were actually surprised at this. We didn't realize that this would be the feedback, but the thing they really are looking for is they're looking for a way to do dementia care better. And so that will be a big focus. I'm sure that we'll have people on. And so John and Sharon, I'd actually like to spend a little time talking with you guys about what the system, what the program actually looks like, how it works, and the kind of results you're seeing. John?
Well, I'm not going to describe the program in detail. I'm going to let Sharon do that because Sharon is in charge of it and knows it from the bottom up, down, top down, and inside out. I want to talk about the reason I think that you're hearing that among engagement professionals is that not dementia, not memory care, but cognitive issues are now spreading from memory care communities out into assisted living and also into independent living in larger communities. The number that we've been finding in our work is that we're talking about a third of the people, that a third of the residents in today's senior housing that live in independent living 30% to 33% are either living with some dementia and some cognitive issues, or caring for someone in their family. So a third of the people living there are dealing with this issue. That's why this issue is growing way beyond where we began many years ago. The second two things that are happening, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sharon and sort of say, Sharon, tell me, how do we do this? Is number one, cognitive issues, dementia is being seen less and less as a disease and more as a disability, something we got to learn how to live with, and not, sort of say, oh my God, that's the end of their life, but rather say this is a 10, 15, 20-year life. And that instead of as a disability, we have to do whatever we can to help people live as full lives as possible. So those are the big messages that we have been developing, and that this merger between Hearthstone and Abe's Garden will be able to support and create the basis for. So Sharon, when Steve says, what does it look like? What does it look like?
Sure. Yeah. So Sharon, I'm actually going to jump in here for 1 second before we get there, but that is exactly the right question. I want to just say I love this idea of treating it as a disability rather than your life is over kind of death, almost a death sentence. When I was in my teens, I haven't really talked. I don't know that I've ever talked about it too much. I mean, it's not a secret, just haven't really talked about it. But I weirdly had the opportunity over about a 5-year period of time to care for two different people who were quadriplegics. One had contracted polio in Africa, and he was confined to a rocker bed because he had breathing issues. The other one was somebody who, when he was 19 years old, dove off a cliff into a river, broke his neck. And it was a fascinating learning experience, particularly the one who broke his neck. He just passed away about 3 years ago, but he lived a remarkable life, even though he was paralyzed from his neck down. When the year I graduated from high school, we took a 2-week road trip up from Northern California, where we both lived, into Canada, where his sister lived. We saw amazing sights. And, even though he had this tremendous disability, he had tremendous quality of life. So Sharon, what's it look like and how does it work?
Wow, that was super inspirational. Along those lines, I think before we talk about what makes it work, I think what I'd like to add to what everyone has said is my feeling that what we're trying to do, or our mission, is to get people to reimagine what people with cognitive challenges can do. And in order to do that and create a higher expectation, we have to be able to give people the tools to get them there. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to figure out how to take these sort of headlines that exist with you have to get into their world and you have to do these adaptations, and really drill it down and put meaningful, powerful tools in the hands of people, family care partners, professional care partners, that work and that help that person with living with a cognitive challenge have the quality of life that they deserve. And I think we expect as a society so little of a quote unquote dementia program. We walk in, and as long as people are safe and secure and we give them 3 meals a day and they have a shower, that's pretty much the expectation. And there's so much more richness that we can add to people's lives. And when we go in and we start a new partnership and we teach people these tools and techniques, you see their residents come alive. And if we can convince a person that they can do something that they didn't think they could do, it sparks their imagination. And they're like, well, if they can do that, what else can they do? So that's why we call I'm Still Here a skills-based approach. And we're constantly looking for what people can do all the way through the disease process, instead of focusing on what they can't. And how can we use it to create meaningful, engaging, purposeful things, instead of what many programs are focusing on is entertainment, right? We watch TV all day and we do, we have music and sing along, and which is great. And we all, fun is fun, but you need more than that in your life to be a happy, successful person. And so that's what we're trying to infuse The way that we do that is to
So
teach.
Sharon, I'm gonna take a break here. I just as you're talking, my head is just sort of spinning here. So my mom had a stroke a number of years ago, and she was horribly, cognitively impaired. And for the last few months that she lived, she was in a small, very lovely a residential community, and I'd go see her 2 or 3 times a week. But I'm going to confess, I went more out of duty and because I loved her and it was important for her. And it was, there was a part of a psychological need, but I didn't really look forward to it because I knew it was going to be a very blah experience. And so I'm thinking about what you're talking about and what John's talking about and Susannah and Chris are talking about. I'm thinking, what if my mom, and I'm going to say she may have been too far, the damage from the stroke may have been too far down the road to make as much difference. But I'm thinking, what would it be like if she'd been in a I'm Still Here, and I could actually go look forward to having a new and different kind of interaction. So I want you to talk about that. But before we do that, we've got a quick message from one of our sponsors. You solve a little problem, but it's a little problem that happens a million times a day, which actually makes it into a big problem. And that's sort of how older people interact with the TV, and that the TV really is this great tool that gets suboptimal use, and you really crack this problem in a really amazing way. So why don't you just sort of give me 30 seconds for the audience about what Cavo does?
What Cavo is good at is all things TV. So communicating through the TV, content management through the TV, anything you'd want to overlay on your TV, messaging, that kind of stuff. So we're really, really good at all things TV.
So love Cavo, appreciate their support. So Sharon, let's talk about what you might have been able to do for my mom and what that would look like in real life.
Sure. So the first thing we would do is to use what we call an I'm Still Here skills assessment tool. And this is what we teach our partners to use. And what it does is it hunts and digs for skills a person may have. So a person who's very far advanced in dementia or has had a stroke may not be able to read and do things like that they used to enjoy. But there are skills there that we can find. And so if that person is able to, for example, one of the skills that remains in people who are often very far into the disease process is the ability to sort and match things. So that's a skill we may be able to use and invite your mom to perhaps sort things that we're going to have for dinner into different pasta shapes. If we want to use a bow tie shape for this particular pasta dish, we could ask her to pick those out of a bunch of different shapes. And that's meaningful, purposeful work because we'll actually use those things, right? We may ask her to play a game like dominoes. Dominoes is a basic sorting matching, right? You're matching the 1 to the 1, the 6 to the 6. It's a skill. As long as a person can still, if they have motor skills, they can still play that game or an adaptation of that game, which may engage them, right? So we would also dig into her life story. A lot of what we teach and what we do is to learn a lot about the person and then try to figure out what you can pull from the life story, combine it with the skills, and come up with something that would engage her.
So one of the things I guess I find puzzling, wondering about, and I think Abe's does a pretty good job of this, but in most communities, you might have independent living, assisted living, and memory care. And there's sort of this idea that memory care is way over there and that we don't want them to match. Is that how it works with I'm Still Here? Sharon?
Not at all. I'm Still Here is a very, what we're always trying to do is to show people what people with memory challenges can do and not isolate. So people with memory challenges often need an environment that's been adapted for their needs, but we want them to be a part of the community. We want them to, like, one of the things we always do is to have a volunteer committee in the memory support program that's doing things that are outward facing. And often those things are things that are happening on their community campus. They may be the team that's the welcome committee or the recycle committee or something that's getting them out and interacting with the other residents that are there to reduce the stigma, right? We want people to see that these folks are capable of all kinds of things if we adapt it for them, and also reduce the fear.
Let me just add, there are many things that people do in senior living which everybody can do, whether you have a cognitive issue or not. For example, choosing the film to show on Friday night. Everybody can watch the trailer and they can say, hey, that's a nice trailer. It's not a nice trailer. You don't have to be a PhD professor to know whether you like The African Queen or you like a John Wayne movie. And so watching a 3-minute, that would be fine. The welcome committee can put together things that go in a basket that new residents get. And you don't need to have cognitive ability or not to decide that. The art programs, people with or without cognitive issues can paint better or worse. There are some people with cognitive issues who paint really, really well, and they can paint still lifes, paint pictures of flowers, and they may do it better so painting and art and listening to music and playing music and banging on cymbals and drums, all of these things are equalizers in our communities. They do not have to focus on whether people have a memory issue or not.
And if you do it right, they can know.
And if you do it right, nobody knows. I think Sharon was saying that. If you do it right, nobody can tell.
So, Chris, and I'd like to actually have talk a little bit. I mean, you're doing this, right? And I'd actually like to have you talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing at Abe's Garden to make this happen in real life and what that looks like.
Okay,
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I think this is an area that we had a real struggle with when the memory support side opened about 7 years ago. Is we had independent and assisted living, and nobody really wanted to even think about or go over to Abe's Garden. And since then, we've done a really good job of kind of blending, no matter where you live, but to be able to come together in different places all around our community. And so a few things that have come to mind about that is a nice, simple way to bring everybody together is with food. So we have a great courtyard in our memory support, and instead of doing 2 separate cookouts, we did 1 cookout in our memory support area. And so our independent living and assisted living residents are coming over to the memory support side. We have plenty of seating. We have outdoor grills there, and just through natural socialization, everybody's able to communicate with each other and eat with each other, and that was like a good initial step. And then another aspect that we added to this is we have life stories on all of our independent living residents. And then we also know the type of engagements that we want to have in our memory support. And so we've had independent living residents start running engagement groups in our memory support side. So we have a men's club where there are 2 residents in our independent living side that come over. We have a Bible study that's run by a preacher who lives in our independent living. And so when you start bringing together interests, you start bringing together or making food the focal point, you can really have a great time with that. And I think the last aspect is our memory support residents going to the independent and assisted living side also, where we do a wine and cheese. And so that's another way for everybody to get back together. Because at this point, 7 years later, we've had a lot of residents from independent living that have moved into our memory support area, and they all still remember each other from when they were all living more or less in the same places. And so it's a great way for those friendships to reconnect. And now it's to the point where it's more smooth and natural, and there's not really as big of a barrier between the 2 sides.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is so important. The locked memory care communities, the theory behind it is really to protect the people with cognitive issues from doing damage to themselves, particularly from wandering. And I'm fearful that first off, that a lot of them aren't particularly wander risk. And what it's really done is created this kind of isolation and them and us mentality. And so what I'm hearing from you is that you're really, you're taking many cases where, in effect, you're unlocking the doors so that you create a better, richer experience for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Even simple things like yesterday, we did a collective birthday party. And so we had residents go out to run errands, essentially, with our life engagement coordinators to go pick up the cake, And so just doing even something as simple as that, which maybe isn't something everybody misses, running errands, but it's another way to kind of bring everybody together and break down those barriers and make things more fluid.
Let me just say that one of the things we teach, Steve, is that wandering is not a symptom of dementia. Wandering is a result of having nothing to do. Because if you got nothing to do, you wander around and look for something. So if you're going and picking up the cake for a birthday party, or if you're going over to a cocktail party and you're sitting with people that you used to live next door to, you don't get up and wander. You know why you're there. So giving purpose and meaning to people is a way of overcoming this so-called symptom of dementia, which is wandering.
Yeah, and it makes sense, because when you describe it that way, John, I guess what occurs to me is that in our own ways, we're all wanderers, in that we're all looking to alleviate boredom. And I think it's a terrific way to look at it. So we are about out of time. I think the big message here is that dementia care, dementia programming, people can have such richer lives than we tend to think about. That Hearthstone is a powerful system for making that happen at Abe's Garden. It could be a powerful system for you. There are a number of other communities across the country that are already using it. So if somebody wanted to check out how to do this, maybe explore it for their own communities, their own organization, how would they do that? Sharon?
I think the easiest way to get in touch with us is through our website, which is the HearthstoneInstitute.org, or Abe's Garden website, which is, as you see on the screen, abesgarden.org. And if you reach out to us, we will connect with you and explain more about the program and how we do it and how you could become a partner.
Thank you very much. Susannah, Chris, John, Sharon, thank you. The thing I love about senior living, the industry, is we've got this group of people who are just passionate about making the world better for residents who live in senior living, for the people who work in senior living. And we didn't really touch on it, but I think that one of the things that we should have probably spent a little bit of time talking about is that if you are working in dementia care and you're doing Hearthstone, it's going to feel a lot more fun, a lot better. You're going to go home a lot more excited, because you're going to know at the end of the day that you made a real difference in some people's lives. And so if you're struggling with recruitment in your memory care communities, this will help you do that. And I've been in Abe's Garden. I've watched activities been done. I've been talking to frontline workers about their experiences. In fact, I did an interview last week with somebody whose nickname is Happy. That was absolutely amazing. You look at Susannah and Chris; they're smiling because they know who I'm talking about. It was an amazing conversation. She loves going to work every day, and I can hardly wait to share that conversation with you in the upcoming weeks. So if you're looking for a way to just really up that game to improve your operations, check out Abe's Garden and the Hearthstone Institute. And thank you again for each of you. If you'll stay on for just a moment, and we will sign off.